Yes, it's What a Boast, a celebration of Reeves and Mortimer. Please welcome your hosts for this podcast, MJ Price and Paula Wiseman.
Hello and welcome to Quite a Boast, a podcast dedicated to the work and genius of Vic Reeves and Bob Mortimer. My name is Matt Price, founder of the Reeves and Mortimer Depository of Curious Stuff Facebook group.
And I am Paula Wiseman, founder and creator of the Divine Comedians podcast.
Today we are joined by three guests, three musicians who at one point provided backing for Vic Reeves, Tinker's Rucksack, Donald and Davy Stott, and a whole host of memorable characters, from the stage of the Albany Empire to the nation's TV screens. One of them also composed the music for some proper big night out anthems, which have gone on to become cult classics. Please enter the Novelty Island paddock, Steve McGuire, David McLeod, and Mark Narayn.
Hello,
gents.
Hello.
So first of all, everyone can work out what everybody sounds like. If you want to introduce yourselves one by one and just say what your prime instrument was during the big night out days. So, David, if you want to go first.
Yeah, start with David.
I played the bass. Yeah, that's about it. Just the bass. And then I stopped.
Steve?
I did guitar, I think. And a little bit of, when I was composing stuff, that would be on a little bit of keys. My involvement was probably more in the background rather than sort of the main band, which we might touch on later.
Yeah, and Mark.
I played the drums. I get to hit them; they don't hit back. That was really, it was good fun. It was good fun.
So let's catch up with a bit of your pre-Big Night Out musical histories before you joined the Vic Reeves Circus. So I know, Steve, you had quite an interest in 1980s, to say the least.
Started off when I moved to Southeast London after failing at university. I took a gap year that's so far lasted 43 years. So. I started up a band with a guy called Clive Jackson, and I think you might have. I've listened in on some of the other podcasts, and I've heard some names mentioned, which mean something to me. I think Jim himself mentioned Alex Bienkoff, or maybe that was Ben Addison. He mentioned a guy called Alex Bienkoff. Well, Alex Bienkoff was in a band called the Marble Staircase, who were based around the Blackheath, Lee area, and Lewisham. And Alex Bienkoff and Clive were old friends from school. And so for a bet, Alex Bienkoff bet Clive Jackson that he could have a hit before Clive would have one. And Clive didn't even have a band at that time. So, he accepted the bet for, I think it was a £5. And so he came to me because I told him that I could play guitar. So we formed a band called Doctor and the Medics. In 1982, and in 1986 we had a surprise number one with Spirit in the Sky, and in the incestuous sort of Southeast London music scene, a lot of this is like a Venn diagram of people that are in different bands and in the comedy world and the music world. Southeast London at that time was a very sort of creative area. There's all sorts of things going on, so it wasn't surprising that you sometimes do hear the same names coming up quite often. So my sort of entry into the Vic Reeves world was as a sort of having had my 15 minutes of fame in Doctor and the Medics.
Yeah. Okay, David, what about yourself?
As far as I can remember, I think I was sort of trying to get into playing bass for a living. So I was spending sort of ridiculous numbers of hours at home, sort of twanging and thwacking away and trying to read dots and things. And I was also working at HMV in Oxford Street, which is where I met Mark's sister, who then introduced me to Mark, and I got into the show through Mark's sister, Kathy. but really, yeah, was sort of doing odd bits of sessions and stuff, but not really making a particularly sort of just sort of making a sort of early inroads into trying to play bass for a living, or some sort of music.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
What about yourself, Mark?
Yeah, I was working in mostly recording studios. I'd done some work with the BBC Film Sound, and I was also playing drums in various bands. I wasn't sort of really trying. I mean, my view was I was young and healthy. What would I want with the job, type of a thing. So I wasn't really looking it from that point of view. But so I do other bits of jobs about the place to keep myself alive. And then while playing in bands, we had a band called Primetime Viewing, which was sort of a surreal cabaret thing. Do things like give away color TVs in a pub and that type of stuff.
Yeah.
And my sister Kathy was also running a thing at Gossips, I think it was on Dean Street. That was a weird club night thing. So we're doing bits and stuff with that. I did some bits and pieces with David as well. We did bits of music. I did some bits and pieces with Patrice, who was later on one of the guitarists. But a lot of the work that I was doing was with Peter Brook Turner, who I think you may have spoken
Lovely
to.
Peter.
We'd known each other for years. We did lots of projects. Most were probably crash and burn sort of things, but our view was you do whatever if it looks weird, fun, and interesting. And he introduced me. I mean, he said Vic Reeves was looking for some musicians in it must have been 88, end of 88 or something like that, because they were about to move to the Albany Empire. So we then started doing the live shows, and there was myself, David. I think there was we had a piano player called Nick. I've forgotten his last name now. And so we did those. They were really, really good fun. They were like 3 hours stint, maybe half an hour to an hour was good, and the rest was rubbish. But it didn't matter. You sit through the rubbish because the good stuff is so good. You know what I mean? It's that sort of thing. And then the pilot came sort of out of the blue, from my end anyway.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't keeping tabs on who was coming to the live show and things like that.
Yeah. See, it's a 3.5 hour show at the Albany Empire. Would you have been on stage that entire time, or we've come and going?
Yeah, I think we were the entire time. But also there was we felt that, we didn't. I mean, certainly at the Albany, we didn't really want to be thought of as a professional band. Not least of all because I wasn't a very good musician, so so we do things in the background like I think we'd read a newspaper because we felt, that's what musos did. So we'd make sure everyone could read newspapers, and then we started eating bananas because they're just no particular reason.
Need that potassium.
Yes, exactly. Just to make sure so there was always something going on somewhere, most of which people weren't overly aware of. But we kind of quite like that whole idea.
Yeah, there's one of the home videos someone shot from the time that I think one of you's in the background reading the paper.
That's we all were. In fact, I think we'd all arranged to take in papers, and we were trying to work out what would be the most crappy paper we could take in as well. That kind of thing.
Deptford Advertiser or something like that.
Yeah, the local paper. Yeah.
So, Steve, when did you first? What year would it have been? Would that have been before the Albany Empire when you first met it with Jim?
My interaction with Jim was almost right from the start when he first was appearing at the Goldsmiths Tavern. That's the first time I saw him. I was waiting for a bus in New Cross, and it started to rain, and the Goldsmiths Tavern was right behind me, and I thought, with the rain and the bad traffic, it's probably going to be a while before the next bus. So I went in there and I saw a handwritten sign saying "Tonight, Vic Reeves, Big Night Out." I think it was like about 50p to get in or something. And I thought, well, why not? And I went into the back room there, and I think there was probably myself, maybe about 6 or 7 people.
Yeah.
And that was the first time I ever saw him. And I forgot about the bus. I stayed and watched. And that's pre-Bob days. That's like, I think it might have been the second or third time he'd been there, because I think he might have been doing the residency there.
Yeah.
And I just proceeded to tell everybody that I came across, you've got to check this. You've got to go and see this guy. It's like Eric Morecambe on acid, was how I described it. And in fact, so I kind of kept going back week after week, and I saw the audience growing. And I distinctly remember the first night that Bob was there, because he was in the audience and he got up and one of the things that he got him on stage to do one of these sort of where he got just get somebody out of the audience and then he would talk nonsense at them. And one of them was Bob. When Bob opened his mouth, he had exactly the same accent, and it was just like, what's going on here? And then before you know it, Bob was part of the show. So my interaction with Jim was right from the way before the Albany days. And it was around that time because I went up, spoke to him. I said I'm a real fan. And he knew me. He sort of knew me because of the Medics connection, and he knew Ben Addison. I know you've had him on recently, and he had Boys Wonder, and there was so again it was like a Venn diagram of different people knowing each other, and it was at that point I said to him, well, if you need some help with music, I'm quite happy to lend whatever paltry musical knowledge I've got. And so we collaborated on writing some. I think I wrote the theme tune. Originally, he was going to take the show to another pub in Crystal Palace, I think it was, before we went to the Albany. And so I knocked up something at home that it eventually became the Big Night theme. It's
a perfect theme for the Big Night Out. I mean, it feels like it's been around forever. It's like an old variety theme tune, isn't it?
I just sort of thought. In my head, I thought it's like Simon D. He was a sort of chat show host in the '60s, sort of jazzy, and ever so slightly cheesy. It just seemed to fit. So he liked what I'd done on that, and then we worked together on Oh Mr. Songwriter, which was another one that I collaborated with him on. He'd written the words, and he just wanted some chords to go behind it. So I took the foremost usual chords that anyone ever does. And put that behind it. So
it's incredible.
Yeah, they're both perfect. I mean, again, Oh Mr. Songwriter. I remember first hearing it thinking, that's a song I've heard before. Surely I've heard that before, because it feels like an old standard. Because he did do a lot of old standards.
It's your most standard. It's the most standard chord you can. I can't remember what key it's in, but it's the most standard chord you can think of. So I got a co-writing credit on it, and actually when it. Later on, when he put out Dizzy with the Wonder Stuff, they did a version of it called Oh Mr. Hairdresser on the B-side. But because you get royalties for the B-side, when people, even back those days, that people were still buying vinyl and CDs and what have you, mechanical product. I actually earned more money from having a co-writing credit on that than I did from with Spirit in the Sky, because that wasn't our song. That was a couple of versions.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And I still get royalty. My last royalty payment that would have included the chords from Mr. Songwriter was £5.67. So
every little helps.
Exactly.
Every little helps. Yeah.
So technically, you've had 2 number 1s, Steve. So that was a B-side to Dizzy. So
well, technically 3, because so there's Spirit in the Sky. There was the B-side of Dizzy, and then the Medics were invited to appear on. There was the Herald of Free Enterprise, was a ferry which capsized, and they did a version of Let It Be, and they got all these people down. Well, we appeared on it for something like 2.5 seconds in the video, and that went to number 1. So there you go. I can sort of lay claim to having been involved in 3 number 1s. No royalties for any of the others, though.
No.
Not bad for the CV, though, is it? Having that on it.
Yeah,
well, it can make for an interesting chat down the pub sometimes.
Yeah. But you were right. We were saying before, Steve, was so when Big Night Out first started and Vic Reeves was playing live, it's like 3 men and a dog, and word of mouth spread through people who went to see it, and it built up. Yeah. But it seemed to Jim, if it was 3 people in front of him or 1,000 people in front of him, he's going to act. The Vic Reeves character is going to be acting as if he's the Palladium.
The night I saw him, that was Vic Reeves. What I saw that night, that first night, it was like it was fully formed. It was all there in his head. Yeah. And everything else, all the additions, and obviously the interaction with Bob, it was just more of that. All of the other characters, they all sort of came from the same place, and that's what I saw was just this sort of I'd never seen anything like it. We do, and again, there's a lot of comedy around South East London at the time, as well as the music, and a lot of the bands had sort of humorous elements to them. So there was a big crossover, and yeah, it didn't surprise me that people took to it, and it was organic. It wasn't, people in the know knew where to find him, and up to the point where he crossed over to the Albany, which is where the guys there were on a much bigger stage and a bigger audience, and that's really it sort of mushroomed from there. But right from the off, there was something completely different about what he was doing.
Yeah. So, I mean, what memories do you have of those live shows? Did it all feel kind of, I don't know, fairly organic? Was there a plan?
No, it was chaotic. You never knew what was going to happen next, which was part of the excitement. So and again, I remember when Bob started to turn up, and I think I'm pretty sure that he worked for like a legal clerk or something. I think in Peckham or something like that. He was a legal clerk. So he had the gown. He had the Judge and Nutmeg gown, which I think he'd pinch from work or something. I remember him turning up one day, and it was the first time I ever saw that a version of That's Justice, that ended up in the show. And it would be the same thing. It would be like he would just invent these ludicrous crimes and with ludicrous punishments, and it just. I mean, I'm not sure if he scripted it that much, but wherever he was getting it from, it was just it was just pouring out all this stuff. It was very inventive, very clever, but chaotic.
Yeah, Mark and David, when you were invited to join the band on stage, did you have any experience of watching it live beforehand, or was literally your first experience of Vic Reeves backing him on stage?
We were sort of chucked in, pretty much. I don't know quite when it started, but so they asked me to get some musicians, and I got, that's right, Dave and Nick, to just help on the live show. And I told Dave, in fact, that it was a good music gig, and I do remember there was one. Dave was sitting there because Dave's a really, really good musician. And I remember him sitting there, and one of the acts came on, and I think he did a strip tease to "There's No Business Like Show Business," stuck a firework up his bum. And I just remember looking at Dave's face because I knew this was going to happen. And I mean, I wish I'd had a camera actually, because that was
Chris Lynam, I think. Yeah.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, I've still got PTSD.
Yeah.
Well, of course, we asked him, has it ever blown up? And he was going, yeah, but I put tape round it and I have a bucket of water on the side just in case I need to go and sit in it.
Yes, I think he used to insert a firework, didn't he?
That's what I was. So ones that shoot out stars.
Yeah, we just saw the firework and the gaffer tape, and
it was just like a.
This wasn't in the advert.
It's all about the visuals.
But that's when you knew it was really good.
Yeah.
Because that's
poor David.
I think I was about 19. It was my first experience of sort of playing something live. I took up a different occupation after that.
Literally a baptism of fire.
Yeah. Well, yeah. If you can live through that, you can live through anything, can't you? So.
That's the thing. How do you follow that? Do you know what I mean?
I mean, the nice thing about the Albany was it looked like chaos. I mean, they did have a table around the back with all the props that were all in order that I think Fred had lined up for them. So I'm assuming there must have been a running order at the very least. And certainly by the time it got to the pilot, it was all scripted. I don't know I don't very much the live shows were particularly scripted. And I've always liked the sort of a vague semblance of order emerging out of complete chaos. And, that's the fun, really.
Yeah.
That's what made the show so good.
Yeah, that's the thing. It looks like chaos, but it's obviously been he's really thought about what he's actually doing.
Well, I assume he has. I mean, on the TV things he had to. On the live show, I don't know. What I do remember that impressed me was that whenever they hit each other, they really hit each other. There's a few things where they were, I think, in the pilot, and certainly on one of the other shows where I think they were getting whacked about quite a bit.
Yeah,
but
I think it was great for us because all I knew was oh, they want you to learn Green Green Grass of Home or Kiss or a couple of other tunes, and that was it. That was the only brief I had. So I'd actually sit at home and learn the bass lines as though we were going to play the songs, and didn't realise when we got there it was going to be something completely different. But it was actually really good because you had no idea what was going to go on. I didn't know about any of the characters or anything, any of the format. I just knew I had to learn these songs. They all came out sounding a little bit different from what I'd been rehearsing at home, but that was the only information that I had.
It's very trusting of you, David.
Yeah, never again.
Were any of you ever asked to interact with the show as such, as in have any lines? Did he ever stop the show and have a chat with you guys? And you had to provide some sort of comedy.
He did things where he'd sort of come over and he'd sort of point at you and say, "Do some drumming," and he'd do a dance, and all that kind of stuff would come out of the blue.
Yeah.
He did a bit of that, and he did tell us to shut up a few times. He liked to sort of, if we said play this song, we'd get halfway through, and then he'd go shut up or whatever.
Yeah.
So there was bits and pieces of it, but most of it was basically just the show. I mean, I think my favourite part was probably the beginning. I don't know which show it was that it started in, where they just would pump smoke into the room and the lights were off, and they'd have, what was it, Born in the USA blaring out as he would come on, and then he'd sing something like I'm a Believer or whatever. And I just loved the fact that it had this huge intro going to to not much. Musically it just suddenly was a completely different sort of thing.
Yeah.
But,
there is an entire 3-hour-ish episode, a show of the Big Night Out on YouTube that Peter Brook Turner has put up there.
Oh, that's right.
Includes
Yeah,
that
no, I saw that.
Does
it? Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
No, he sent me something. I think I think I've seen some of that. Because that had, I mean, it also just had everybody, anyone who went along, you just bring your friends and they'd all end up on a stage. I mean, my sister ended up there, my girlfriend ended up on stage, her sister's friend, I mean, because doing whatever skits they wanted to. And as Vic would say, some of them were very poor. But then that's part of the whole fun of it, really.
Yeah. Of course, by the later days into the TV days, you'd have people like Paul Whitehouse and Charlie Higson, and you had Fred and John Irving, all quite a big crew of people by then.
Yeah, you did. I think Charlie Higson certainly, and Paul, I think they were in the Albany show. They showed up at some of they came on stage on some of the Albany ones. I have a feeling Paul Whitehouse might have been covered in gaffer tape. I can't remember what he was doing, but he was rolling about on the floor. But yeah, that's all I remember.
Was he a slitherer, I think, or something?
Oh, is that right? Okay. That could be it.
Yeah,
that could be it. Yeah,
because there's a famous, and it's open to debate whether they were all there on the same night. But apparently, Jonathan Ross brought Alan Yentob and Michael Grade down to the Albany Empire to see the show. Were you aware that it was going to be moving to TV, and that you would all, at least for the pilot, you'd all be involved?
No. But basically, what I could tell, and I think was easy to tell, which Steve's already alluded to, was it certainly. This has happened a couple of other times in my life where you have some band, a bit of entertainment, and a few people come, and it goes like that. It chugs along, and then all of a sudden, you get just masses of people coming. I mean, they were queuing around the block at the Albany, and you kind of have no idea why, because it's not like anyone. I didn't get the impression anyone kind of sitting down promoting anything. And I think, as Steve's saying, it was just word of mouth, and it just hits at the kind of right time for the place it's at, and the kind of what people like at that moment in time, I guess.
Yeah,
I remember.
But yeah, I didn't know they were all in the audience. I knew there was some toing and froing between Channel 4 and BBC, I believe, who were trying to nab the rights or something like that before they do the pilot. But I don't know much. I hadn't even realised. In fact, when I went home, I think I told my girlfriend. She said, "You're kidding. It's terrible." So, because she didn't get it at all. She was like, she came to all the shows too, but she was just like, I've no idea why this
Dedication.
is funny.
And now she's eating her words.
Well, yeah, not really. She says people are mad.
Well, again, there's in the whole Venn diagram of things. I think you've had a chat with Jonathan Ross.
Yeah,
and he mentions about because he mentions that he went down to Gossips. That's when he first saw Jim because of his brother Adam. And again, weirdly enough, I've been doing some music with Adam. He was interested in doing some music, and I had a little studio in the loft of my flat that I had in Catford, and I'd done some music with him, and he was doing a night at Gossips called Swank, I think it was called, and he was going to be sort of DJing there and sort of curating the night, and he'd seen Jim and he'd seen Vic, and that's when he got him down. And of course, his brother being sort of, involved in the same business, I think that's when he got Jonathan down. It was just like, well, look, I'm running this club, and it just so happened that Vic was doing his numbers down there. And Gossips is the same nightclub that in the Medics days we were very heavily related to a night there on the Monday night called Alice in Wonderland, which was like a 60s psychedelic night. And all sorts of people used to go to that, and it ran for years. So Gossips is kind of in the middle of that Venn diagram of things. Things that swirl. Well,
Gossips was a really big venue.
Yeah,
it had loads. Well. It was one of those kind of, I think my sister knew Adam Ross.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure he came to a couple of her things too, and they somehow, I don't know how, they knew Vic Reeves, but separately from me, and I don't know how. I mean, assuming he probably threw Adam or something, but it was kind of weird. I mean, there's other guys. I mean, there's a guy I think you might play with called Richard Searle.
Well, Richard was the bass player in Doctor and Medics. There you go. You see.
Oh, right, there you go. Because
then Richard went on to be in Boys Wonder, and then he went on to be in Corduroy, which
that's right.
Ben Addison. So again, it's all
everybody kind of knew everybody. It was kind of a
very
weird
incestuous.
thing.
Yeah. So the Jonathan Ross connection, it was probably just a chance thing that he happened to go down to this night because his brother was curating this nightclub, and Vic happened to be there doing his thing, and he obviously spotted that, and probably very quickly got to hear that like there's this it's kicking off down in southeast London, and I think that's probably around the time that I think that's when the Albany had already started up. Because that was the real game changer, I think, in terms of going from the back room of a pub to the pilot show was the Albany shows, because everybody went to those, and it was like you say, there was queues around the block, and they were great. They were just fantastic events.
Yeah. So the pilot episode is sort of like a mini version of the Albany show, the layout and everything, and the running order with the opening song and the wavings, the characters on Man with a Stick, etc. Right through to Mr. Songwriter. What do you guys remember about the recording of that? Directed by Jeff Posner, I think, who didn't do the rest.
That's right. Yeah, it was Jeff Posner, and I remember meeting Alan Mark, lovely bloke actually. And so I think we recorded it. I wrote this down here. Hewitt TV in Wandsworth.
Yeah,
they did it, and it was a long. It was a long show. I think it was longer than it eventually was. But I mean, for a part, I suppose they're trying to get in as much stuff as they could get in. And I thought it went really well because it was still a little bit. They were trying to get them to stand on marks and be in vaguely the right place for the camera. I don't know how well that went, but certainly it still had a lot of the chaotic side of it. And I thought it was great actually.
Well, what I remember is, did they do two pilots? Did they record
no, just the one,
back?
I believe. I think there was only one
because it was so long. Because although I wasn't part of the stage band at the Albany, I was in the band for the pilots.
Well, you were musical director for that,
the time the series came around, funny enough, I was off on tour with Boys Wonder. So me and Richard had gone off so all the dates clashed, and I couldn't sort of get out this tour. So you guys did the remainder of the
Well,
TV
I remember
shows.
Meeting you on the pilot actually. I remember, because
I seem to remember we all dressed in purple.
You know what's really irritating?
trousers and polo necks.
That's right.
What really irritates me is I have a picture of us at the pilot dressed up somewhere, and I can't for the life of me remember where the hell it is. It's a great picture because, of course, we all look. I mean, everyone looks weird.
Yes.
I look great because I'm fat, so it looked particularly entertaining.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I watched the pilot ahead of this, and compared to the TV series, I think it was Jeff Posner's director's choice. He pretty much keeps you guys out of it. You can tell you're to the right of this. Jim's, hang on, on Jim's left, Jim's right. Is that right? I don't know. Over there, but you don't get much screen time. You see a lot of you on the pilot.
Yeah, it doesn't. I mean, yeah, that kind of thing never really would worry me because I thought the pilot in some ways was nearer to the show as I would have kind of liked it than the TV. I mean, it had to be, I suppose. The TV series, if you're pushing it down to whatever it was, half an hour, you have to be a lot more. But as soon as you do that, you start to lose a little bit of the. It still worked out brilliantly, but just there's nothing quite like the live shows. And I thought the pilot was pretty near to that. I thoroughly enjoyed the pilot, I got to say.
Yeah. So for the pilot, it's yourselves and Patrice Serapiglia, if I'm pronouncing
that's the one,
correctly. And as you say, you went on tour with the Doctor and the Medic, Steve, and Andy Metcalf joined you for the first series, and you were musical director for that one, Mark.
Yeah, I was musical director of the first one. I think I was probably the worst of the musicians, but I could organise a piss up in a brewery type of thing. In other words, I could organise this stuff.
That's how you got the job.
Thought, and then those 6 episodes I thought were really good because you could see what they were trying to do, and you could see the way they honed it down. They've done a nice job on it actually. I like Anarchy a little bit more, but that's just my own. I wouldn't have worked on telly, but that's my own personal preference. But we used to. The turnaround was I'd say kind of fast. I think we would rehearse. We do a script read through and rehearsals on Tuesday. We do a script read through on Tuesday. Then we go to, I think it was Nomis Rehearsal Studios as the band. We just rehearse on a Wednesday. Thursday, I'm not sure. I think no, it's Thursday. I can't remember what we did, but we might have done nothing actually. Friday was the show, and then on Monday they would go to complete video and they do the video edit and it'd be out. So that was your turnaround week after week. It was very fast. So I'm sure they had pre-written stuff, and they also had a couple script advisors, which I can't remember who they were now. I
think the first series was Jack Doherty.
Jack Doherty, yeah.
Advisor, and Paul White has maybe after as well.
Okay. Although having said that, I didn't see much in there that wasn't already there, if you know what I mean. But still, and they were good. And what was nice about this? Sorry, again.
I said I don't know how you advise Vic and Bob on a script.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think you just all sit in a room.
Yeah.
We used to go to there was a synagogue. What was it? Something synagogue, big rehearsal place. Again, I tried to write that down somewhere, but and they just sit around and probably just have a laugh, and stuff would kind of evolve out of that.
Drinking weak lager.
What do you remember? Yeah.
Drinking weak lager.
Yeah.
It was always quite weak lager, I believe.
Yeah, well, that comes up a lot with Bob.
Oh, does it? Yeah.
Every podcast there's a mention of
just to keep the edge off. David, what do you remember of those recording evenings? I mean, were they all recorded before the first broadcast, or was the series? Were you still recording it when the series started going out?
That's a good question. I think we were still recording after the first one had gone out, because I seem to remember people I knew sort of mentioning that they, and then asking me what it was all about. I don't know.
I don't know.
Yeah, we had, but I think by the time we were filming the third one, I think the first one was already out. I'm pretty sure. Could be wrong, but I think so. I have to. I don't remember Nomis at all. I remember Oval House. I remember rehearsing stuff at Oval House, and I thought the audience just seemed to be full of people who just, I guess it was the Albany crowd, because they all knew what was going on, which was nice because in terms of the broadcast, there was nothing to get over because the whole, the whole audience was on side in the first place, and so from curtain up they all knew the score. They knew when Judge Nutmeg came out, and they knew when the man with the stick, and they everybody knew. So the catchphrases were coming out and they were hitting back and all that kind of stuff. But so yeah, that and like Steve said, the polo necks and the satin trousers. That's what I remember above anything else.
I think it's a good point you made there, David, because famously, when you hear the Monty Python guys talking, and they'll say for those first few episodes, it's pretty much met with silence because it's just your standard audience of little old ladies who come in expecting like a variety show and they don't know what to make of it. But as with the big night out, it's a lot of people who went to the Albany Empire who know the score, they know how to play the game, and that came across to the viewing audience who thought, well, it's already a fully formed thing.
Yeah.
We haven't got to play catch up here.
I think also it looked like one of those in jokes that you really needed to get into as well. Like everybody knew what was going on except you, and you had to kind of you had to sort of you had to be in on the joke as well. And I thought it was really, really well done.
I've got an issue of The Enemy, which is in the corner over there, from the day before the first broadcast, and with Vic's on the cover. Vic Reeves is Britain's funniest man on the front cover. And no one knew he was, but it tells you in there all the bits that are going to come up in the show and what the catchphrases are. So it's like a how-to guide of how to watch this television program, which is different.
I can't remember what times it was broadcast, but I have a feeling they might have kind of pitched it to when you got students who are getting a bit drunk and about to go out or had been out. I can't remember how early in the evening it was.
Yeah.
But it certainly got on well.
I think it was 11 o'clock, like the graveyard slot on Channel 4.
Right, okay. Yeah, no, that would have been perfect if they kind of,
Yeah. So yeah, the first series, so was you guys, but you didn't stay around for series 2 when Andy Metcalf stayed on and brought in Morris and Kevin and Sean, who we've spoken to before. Can you remember any reason why you moved on?
Oh no, there was a disagreement, shall we say, between probably myself and the director. I think it was probably over. I think it was over Patrice. They wanted to replace him with someone, and I just said no, thinking, of course, that as musical director, I had power that I obviously didn't have power. So I then got a letter just saying, we decided to shift things, and so on.
Oh my God.
And so myself and Patrice went, and then Dave decided to fall on the sword, and I said to him, no, you should stay with it. But I think Dave, I don't know if Dave will tell you, but I think, him like me, it'd been fun, and in a way it wasn't a career type of thing. I mean, certainly I got the impression that for sort of myself, Dave and Patrice, this was something that was fun that we did off the back of the Albany. I think Andy Metcalf was quite ambitious, and he does agree, he's a great musician, so I think for him it's more of you're moving through a career path. So I think it's exciting because I think musical director, I earned like about twice what the musicians earned for doing absolutely bugger all, quite frankly.
Well, it's funny you should say it because after my interactions with on the Vic Reeves Big Night, I got offered 2 MD jobs for 2 other Channel 4 comedies, which occupied the graveyard slot, sort of 11 o'clock on Friday, and one of them was called Packet of 3.
Oh wow! Was that the Frank Skinner?
It was, yeah. So in fact, it launched Frank Skinner, Jenny Eclair, and Henry Normal.
Oh, fantastic series!
Was it Baby Cow Productions? He did all that. And we did 2 series. There was Packet of 3, and then the follow-up the next year was called Packing Them In. And because it was set in a theatre, there was acts coming on. So a lot of people that went on to have sort of quite reasonable careers all did that was their first appearance on telly, and so I was the MD for that, and again wrote a cheesy theme tune, and actually a very good band who I was by far the worst musician out of all of them, and for some reason we were called Nick and the Mix. I don't know why, but we were in the pit because it was filmed at Wakefield Opera House. So
all right.
So sorry, that's a bit of a diversion from the Vic
that's
Reeves
fine.
thing. But yeah, there was it was a lot of the same people that you come across. But yes, the TV and music world it's brutal out there. You know,
Certainly sounds that way, doesn't it?
You can. It's all fun and laughs until somebody gets their eye poked out, and then
yeah. Well, so I guess for you guys, you came up say from the Goldsmiths and the Albany Empire, and it was all a bit of fun. It was a gang show, and you moved to TV, and it's great. We're on TV, and suddenly it gets all professional, and production companies get involved, and it's like suddenly you're on the payroll, and you're.
How dare you have fun and earn money?
I'd worked with the BBC, much earlier on, and I kind of vaguely knew a certain amount of, what it can be like. I remember Patrice, the guitarist, always used to say to me, he said, "Don't worry about it. It's fun right now, whatever." But he was a jobbing musician. He had a lot of musical work and all that sort of thing. And like I say, for me, the person I sort of thought Dave should have carried on because he'd have made some decent money out of it. But yeah.
No, I think I remember Mark phoned me up and he said, they're doing a second series. He said, "I'm not doing it." And he said, "But you must do it. You must do it." But I think for me, the first thing was, if it wasn't for Mark, I wouldn't have been on the show in the first place. And I think also, for me, the fun of it was the people that I was with. Don't get me wrong, the show was great, but it was great because of the people that I was with. And, the idea of doing it without them, that's just a non-starter. And I remember sort of, Andy calling me up and I said, like, nope, not doing it, in the nicest way. But, it's just because it's just not the same. And I just felt like, I've done a bit, it was fun, but it wouldn't be as much fun again. And, it's just me then. It's just not the same,
I mean, it was a close escape in one way because the guys who took over from you, they had to wear jockey silks.
Jockey outfits, yes.
When I said that, when I saw that, I knew that I'd made the right decision.
Bring back the Polonex, that's what
exactly.
Yeah.
What you may not be aware of is that on my outfit being slightly not nymph-like, shall we say, they put a gusset in the back of mine, and I made sure that it was like a bright pink. So I had the bright blue, and I've got this bright pink V-shaped gusset in the back of mine, which I was very proud of. And at the beginning of the show, before they started filming, you bend over for the audience, they could all see it,
Do you still have your gusset?
Firework man.
I do have it somewhere, actually. I think it's up in the attic. I'm amazed how small it is. But apparently,
it's always the way when you get older, No.
Apparently, just
things
keeps
get smaller.
Apparently, it stretches indefinitely.
So the other guys, when they went on the second series and they did a couple of the live shows, did you ever go out play anywhere else other than the Albany with Vic? Any of you for the live show?
No, I certainly didn't. We had other bits and pieces with other bands and that, but I didn't do any more stuff with Vic at all. No.
Yeah. So I think you did. Do you do the New Year special? Was that no, you didn't, did you? The other guys took over for that one, I think.
I think they took over pretty much completely.
Yeah, they did the tour as well, didn't they?
Yeah,
there was a tour I think just before which they did. Yeah,
I think they definitely played the one that was on the video that came out, and he said DVD, but it wouldn't be a VHS tape. They played.
Yeah.
Was that the 1691 tour? I think there was. I think there might have been the first one after the
the brown tour. I think.
Yeah, I've still got my tour T-shirt.
I did go to some of the dates, because I was touring around at that time, and I think there was a couple of occasions where that that show was on somewhere near where I might have been playing, so I dropped in and said hello to the guys and that sort of thing. But yeah, there was a whole separate band. I think doing all those shows. I mean, I think the only other thing that I probably did with Vic and Bob at one point, I think prior to the Albany shows, was I had this little studio upstairs, and they came round one day because they'd come up with, I think they were called the Living Carpets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so because so they worked out that with the carpets on, random whistles.
Half time.
Half time, yeah. Seconds away. With the carpets on, they couldn't, they couldn't have a mic on or anything like that, and they wouldn't be heard so well. So they had to pre-record all of the chat. So they came round and probably for a couple of hours they just sat there and just threw insults at each other, which I recorded and then gave him a cassette, which I think you mentioned John Irving. John, because he was great, he had to press go on everything and it all had to be in time. Yeah. So we sort of edited bits together. So they came round and sort of were the living carpets for a couple of hours.
You lying get.
Yeah.
And you was it? I seem to remember. I'm the Crown Prince of Nigeria. You lying get. No, you lying get. And it just went on. And it got more and more bizarre. But
yeah.
Paula, did you you saw the live show? Did you?
Yeah.
How was it?
Yeah,
good?
I've seen them. Yeah, I've seen them over various tours. I went to see the Smell, and I've seen all the back in the day. Went to a few of the live TV recordings and things because I was based in Sussex. I was based in Sussex. I grew up in Sussex, so I spent a lot of time in London in the early 90s, the whole of 90s basically. Gigs, comedy stuff. London is kind of like the epicenter of.
There is so much going on
of everything. TV recordings. It was just an absolute godsend. You'd get to see all these incredible TV things being recorded. You obviously wouldn't know what it was going to look like when it was finished.
I think the thing I liked that I thought was clever about Vic was the fact that he moved forward all the time. So the fact that he kept the Big Night Out to his 2 series was probably about right. And then as they moved on to the game show and so on, each step you sort of think he hasn't overplayed it. It's like with Fawlty Towers, you think, I've done my bit, now I'm moving forward. And it's always a risk, of course, too. It must take quite a lot of nerve because there'll be a lot of pressure from people to
same as Father Ted. Father Ted, the same.
Oh, was it? Oh, was it just a few, was it? Oh, I didn't know that.
just the series, and then they said, right, this is it. We're going to stop when it was when it was at its peak. And they said, look, that's it.
The Young Ones is 12 episodes as well. I mean, it's a very British thing. American shows seem to run and run. If it's popular, they'll keep commissioning it, and they'll get these like 10 or 11 seasons of a sitcom. Whereas over here, and a lot of it has to do with, in this country, for comedy, for sitcoms, and you might have 1 or 2 writers who write everything. Whereas in America, they have a writer's room with it, which will change over time. So new people come in and develop it. But it seems to be more like a personal thing over here. If somebody writes it, you write every episode. By and large.
Still takes a lot of nerve though to do it, I should think.
Yeah, and it's
just far as being, financially, you got this money coming in, and you think the next thing could just be a crash and burn.
But I think it's harder work than ever to get a TV show, especially something as original as The Big Night Out. I don't think if somebody, a youngster nowadays, would have to put something on YouTube to get noticed. You wouldn't get a TV show like The Big Night Out commissioned by a mainstream channel, I don't think.
Oh, really?
Anymore.
Yeah, no, I suppose.
Yeah.
I don't know what our viewing figures were, but I think they were very high because there's just not so many channels,
Yeah.
And I suppose that's part of the problem. There's so much stuff out there that they all want to kind of play it a bit safe.
Yeah. So what did you all do after you left The Big Night Out for the 90s and onwards for work?
Well, I just before The Big Night Out, actually, I had a best described as sort of a epiphany. I can't describe it any other way, because as a musician, I was really doing it was sound recording that I'd liked, and that was harder to get work in. As a musician, I worked quite hard at it and was always very average. Not that obviously should matter, shouldn't be competition, but in the back of my head, And then I think while I was doing some work, I can't remember where it was, but I was getting paid quite well at the time, and I had a couple of days clear a week, and someone asked me to do some teaching on studio technology at a place in, funny enough, Deptford, and I loved that, and I felt that I could do that really, really well. And then over time, I got to the point where I was just like, I like to teach, and it was adults. I don't want to teach kids. Teaching adults kind of anything as long as I know about it, obviously,
Yeah.
even if I don't. But and that's what I've been doing since. I mean, the music sort of started to reduce over the course of about 6 years, and then that kind of started to go upwards. And yeah, so I was one of those who'd have thought it kind of things, because I wouldn't have.
One of those twists and turns you don't see coming.
Yeah.
But yourself, David?
I think I sort of jumped into the music thing immediately after the series, and did various bits of recording and stuff, but probably not enough to pay rent or mortgage. Got married and had a son, and then realised it was time to get a proper job, so started teaching music, more so than playing, and so spent a good number of years sort of doing more teaching than playing. And then when he got to sort of 18, I just thought, I need to get sort of I need to start doing what I originally wanted to do. So really now I've kind of gone back to what it was that I was doing, and just playing a lot more, just theatre stuff, gigs, all sorts of stuff, whatever now pays the mortgage. But it's been good, and I mean for me, one of the great things about doing those live shows was he used to get some guests up, sort of performing guests as well, and I remember sort of really clearly playing with Glen Tilbrook down there. He did the Johnny Nash cover, Did You Got Soul, and he's just a wonderful guy, really nice guy. Jules Holland came and did a bit, but and he was great, but just getting the chance to play with with someone like Glen Tilbrook, and just a lovely guy, and he was just really good at what he did, and that's when one of my sort of fondest memories of doing the stuff.
Yeah,
it's funny how these things come full circle. You kind of end up going back to what you loved initially.
Yeah.
You kind of have to wade through a lot of rubbish, maybe do some stuff that you don't really want to do, but you do it to pay the bills and the rent and that kind of stuff. And then you end up coming back to what you really love and what you really want to do.
I think that's it, because I think for me, playing the bass is the thing that's always been my happy place. And so and I just, without wanting to sound moribund, I'm kind of thinking, well, I've probably got fewer years ahead of me than I have behind me, and I want to actually just do some of the things I really enjoy doing, and do it more. And there's less risk now, because you don't have these sort of dependents and things, and you can sort of you can take a few more chances now.
Yeah.
Oh, but you guys must have been about 5 when you were playing. I mean, you all look very young. You all look very youthful. You almost have been little kids when you were.
She says all the right things.
I'm past retirement.
Yeah, I'm looking at it myself.
I think I was 20 or 21 when we started to do the live shows. So I'm not going to say I was young, but I was younger than Mark.
Yeah, everybody was.
That's all important.
After I doing all the TV stuff, I carried on living in Southeast London, and started up a sort of a live production company with 2 other guys, and we did a lot of touring for all sorts of artists. So I was doing sound engineering, and there was a tour manager for quite a few years. One of the artists that I managed quite a lot was Badly Drawn Boy. I don't know if you,
wow.
Worked for him for many years. We did lots of tours all over the world, and funny enough, here's a theme coming. And when I came off the road, probably about 10 years ago, one of the first jobs I did was working at the local college teaching.
Yeah.
I'm seeing a pattern.
So there you go. Here. Yes, and again, full circle. I although now I work, my bread and butter is working for a very large company dealing with unpaid invoices.
Mm-hmm.
But that means that I can pursue my musical bent, if you like. These days, I funny enough now play bass in a ukulele band. So very similar to what Peter Brook Turner, who and again that's another name. Peter was one of the characters around that everybody knew, and in fact the ukulele Orchestra Great Britain came and played in Peterborough, which is not that far from where I live now. I think about a year and a half ago. So I caught up with him. I hadn't seen him for a while, but yeah. So that's for fun. I play bass in a ukulele band, doing ukulele versions of Black Sabbath songs, and for to pay the man, sort out invoices for toilet cleaners. There you go. The glamour.
It's a living.
Well, you might be interested to know that Peter, he's always done weird, ever since we were teenagers.
Oh,
he's. Have you seen his little films he makes? It's called the Airline Toilets Theatre Company. Because he travels so much, he puts together little videos in toilets of aircraft.
Which isn't as weird as it sounds. It's not as dodgy.
I think it's very entertaining, but I think I'm one of only about a handful of people who probably do.
Someone's got to do it.
Noah's got to do it.
Someone's got to do it.
Glad he does. One more thing, Steve. There's a short film, an animation that Vic does the voiceover for. Vic Reeves' Windiest Night.
That's right, because Dr. Medics, one of our biggest gigs, or we thought was going to be one of our biggest gigs, was at the Astoria.
That's Dr. Medics.
Oh man, the Astoria.
Yeah.
And yes, the Astoria, fantastic
place.
What a
great venue.
Saw many bands down there. Saw Prince one night. Prince was playing at Wembley. And as he quite often, I didn't know this at the time, but quite often what he would do, he would just say to his tour manager or to his production team, I want to go and play in a small club. I'm really buzzing. I want to carry on
get me
playing.
A gig.
And one night, because I knew some of the people that worked down there, and I just happened to be there because I knew some of the crew, and we were hanging about backstage. And one of them came in and said, Prince is turning up with his band, and they're going to be in there about an hour. And what the Prince? Prince Philip? Who are you talking about? No, Prince.
With his band.
And Prince turned up with his band and did like a 2-hour set to sort of a slightly shocked-looking audience who were just there for, I think it was like some sort of disco night, and they just happened to be there. But they'd announced that there's going to be a live artist, and it was Prince. It was fantastic. Anyway, so we booked to play there, and it was the night of the hurricane. And of course, we didn't, we're inside the Astoria. We didn't know anything about it. We did think there's not many people turning up. What's happened? And I think Vic was there to introduce us. I think that's what the connection was. And somebody told me later on that they'd done this cartoon where he mentioned that he'd, Britain's Windiest Night, and he'd gone. We got a mention as Doctor and the Medic. So
yeah.
And then because he would quite often do that. He would quite often turn up and introduce, introduce bands on stage and that sort of thing. So as Vic Reeves,
he's on the beginning of a video by the Band of Holy Joy.
Oh yeah, Band of Holy Joy, yeah,
which is on YouTube, and he's on one of their videos introducing them onto the stage as well. Yeah, back in the late 80s. Yeah.
Because when you had Ben Edison, he did say, the 80s were sort of a bit of a cultural wasteland, and in fact, his favourite period of music was sort of 60s and 70s. But my contention with it, funny enough, I went over to Dusseldorf because our old drummer Vom from the Medics lives out in Dusseldorf and knows Ben. So again, in this weird people who know each other that you wouldn't think. And I went over to see Vom, and he said, "Oh, I'll call up Ben," and we went out for a night out, and we were chatting away. And I think that the 80s, it's the mainstream was maybe a bit sort of corporate, if you like, but there was a hell of a lot of underground stuff that was going on. There were some fantastic bands, and I actually think, without the internet sort of thing and the word of mouth thing, it was I suppose that word organic comes to mind.
Yeah.
You'd have to, the only way you'd know a band was on because somebody would tell you, or you'd pick up a flyer somewhere, or you'd read about it. If you got Melody Maker or Sounds or NME, you would sort of see an advert for a band. But most of it, especially in Southeast London, it was just it was just the word of mouth network, and there was a lot of venues. I remember once. In the Medics, we played in a crypt of a local church, and and the night, it was a regular night. It was a psychedelic nightclub that was actually put on by an ex-policeman. Who we found out later on got done for selling drugs at the venue, and he got the drugs from all the raids the drug squad
No
did.
way.
Yeah. So yeah, so it was a bit of they had a back then Southeast London. I sort of had a bit of a Wild West sort of feel to it, but it was great, and some fantastic bands and venues.
Yeah, even like the fanzines were huge back in that day. Sometimes you'd find bands like the fanzine culture, I suppose, was huge then. You'd find bands through, like there'd be general fanzines about a genre or something, and you'd discover new bands that way.
Some of the bands I got into is if you go like to say something like if you go to the markets, especially went to Camden Market, and people would be selling cassette tapes from suitcases.
Yeah.
They've like a piece of blue cardboard, and it would just be handwritten on it. It would be the name of some band, and they were never going to get signed up or have could afford to put vinyl out. But what they could do is get cheap cassette tapes made. And I came across many about. I used to have an absolute massive collection of cassettes. In fact, some of the gigs that I couldn't remember playing in the Medics, I would find that somebody somehow would have taped it.
On the old bootlegs.
It's just like sometimes I go, I don't even remember playing that gig, and somebody's taped it somewhere. So I can't even remember the venue or the dates that we played there. So very vibrant scene, I think. So even though 80s on the surface, the sort of was a bit glossy and a bit sort of corporate. Underneath it, there was a lot of stuff going on. Hence, that was the fertile ground that the Vic and Bob came from. Was exactly that. Even though they're sort of their style might have been from possibly an earlier period, where it germinated was the late 80s and early 90s.
Yeah.
Oh,
as you say.
I think that's my nurse telling you that my pills are ready.
We'll keep it.
The pills are ready.
I get the whistle first, and then I get the ding, and then when I get the chimes of doom, I know it's time to be taking my medicine.
I thought it was a canary.
It's very big night out.
Just
that sound effects. Bring your own sound effects with you. Thanks so much, guys. It's quite a boast.
Yeah, thanks so much, guys.
And I think perhaps get Peter involved. I think there's a reunion of some sort of super group of big night out musicians on the horizon.
I think so.
Yeah.
A reformation.
I don't know where it'll be because you all live all over the country. We have to centralise it.
Wembley is a good central point.
Wembley.
Probably get 6 people.
You say super group.
In fact, I would love to play somewhere like Wembley with an audience of 10.
Yeah.
That'd be the tube station.
Busking.
Put the cap down, yeah. Oh, thanks, guys.
Cheers, man. Cheers, thanks.
That's no problem. Thank you very much.
Thank you all for listening to this edition of Quite a Boast. Special thanks to Matt Lucas for permission to use the Peanuts music as our theme tune, and thanks to Ed Lewis for this edit. Thank you to Jake Chessum for permission to use the photo from his 1995 shoot of Jim and Bob in our various online locations for the podcast. And of course, thank you very much to Jim Moir and Bob Mortimer, without whom this podcast, well, it just wouldn't exist, would it? Remember to check out Paula's Divine Comedians podcast as well, and to join the Reeves Mortimer Depository of Curious Stuff Facebook group. And I think you'll agree that really was a lot of fun. Goodbye.